Have you ever gone to the market, seen onions at a really cheap price, and casually bought a kilo or two to stock up, only to find less than 2 weeks later that some have sprouted, some have turned soft, and others have started to smell? It's both a waste of money and frustrating. I used to be the same until my grandmother taught me the proper way to store them. Since then, I can buy them once and use them for a long time, still firm, still fragrant, with no sprouting or spoilage. In today's video, I'll share with you 5 highly effective ways to store onions, helping you save money and spend less time preparing each time you cook. Make sure to watch until the end because the third method is the one I use the most, and it's also the simplest. The first step starts with how we store onions in our daily habits. Many people, after bringing onions home, tend to leave them in plastic bags for convenience. It may seem convenient, but plastic bags are actually the main reason onions spoil quickly. Even if the bag has a few small holes, it still traps moisture, and moisture is the #1 enemy of onions. The thin, papery outer skin of onions only works well when there is good air circulation around them. When sealed, moisture is trapped inside. The onions begin to sweat, then gradually soften, rot, or sprout before you even have a chance to use them. So, every time you bring onions home, the first thing you should do is take them out of the plastic bag immediately. Another important reason onions spoil quickly is where they are stored. Many people keep onions and potatoes together for convenience. Potatoes contain a lot of water and continuously release moisture into the surrounding environment. This moisture causes onions to rot or sprout faster than usual. I have created subtitles in multiple languages. Please select your preferred language. Comment below and let me know which country you are watching from. It's amazing that we can connect from all around the world. In fact, the solution is very simple. Just separate onions and potatoes and store them in different places. With this small change, both will last longer and sprout much more slowly. Instead of continuing to store them in plastic bags, I transfer onions to a breathable basket or a paper bag. This is an ideal choice. If you don't have a basket, you can reuse paper bags from the supermarket or any paper bag available at home. Simply punch a few small holes around it like ventilation openings to allow air to circulate easily and prevent moisture buildup inside. Then place the onions in the bag, making sure not to overcrowd them to avoid pressure and damage. I place them in a dark, cool place, such as a pantry, a less used kitchen cabinet, or a well-ventilated area in the house. The ideal temperature for storing onions is around 7 to 13 degrees Celsius. This range helps the onions stay dormant, reduces sprouting, and keeps them firm for longer. With this simple storage method, onions can stay dry, firm to the touch, and retain their full flavor for many weeks, even a few months. It all comes down to creating the most important condition, proper ventilation. Follow this step correctly, and your onions can stay fresh for many days. And if you want to extend the storage time even further, the next tip will help you do just that. For this method, all I need is a clean glove. It may sound unusual, but this is a technique that has been used for generations. First, place one onion into the glove. Then tie a string just above it to secure it. This makes it easier to remove later without tangling and prevents the glove from stretching or getting damaged. Next, add a second onion, tie it the same way, and continue like this until you create a long chain of onions. The interesting part is that each onion is kept separate and does not touch the others. This way, if one onion spoils, it won't spread to the rest. Once finished, simply hang them in a well-ventilated place, such as a pantry, a corner of the kitchen, or near a window. Air can circulate freely around each onion, keeping the outer skin dry, reducing moisture and preventing mold while slowing down sprouting. Moreover, this method is very convenient. Whenever you need one, you just cut or untie a section, take one onion, and leave the rest hanging. The glove can also be reused many times. This is a very simple tip, but if done correctly, onions can retain their firmness, flavor, and freshness for several months. However, sometimes you only use half an onion and want to store the rest. Let's move on to the next tip for more effective storage. Once an onion is cut, it begins to release its natural moisture. Even a small amount of excess moisture can make it soft, slimy, or develop an unpleasant smell. So before storing, use a dry paper towel to pat the cut surface and remove moisture. Next, prepare a food container. Place a layer of clean, dry paper towel at the bottom. The paper towel acts like a small sponge, absorbing excess moisture released by the onion, keeping the environment inside dry and preventing moisture buildup. Place the onion in the container and close the lid tightly. Then store it in the refrigerator. This method helps the onion stay crisp, firm, and fresh for about a week. If the paper towel becomes damp after a few days, simply replace it with a new one. This method also helps control odor very well. Onions have a strong smell, and the paper towel helps absorb it, keeping your refrigerator more pleasant. Just make sure the container is tightly sealed so the smell doesn't spread to other foods, while keeping the cut onion fresh, crisp, and ready to use. If you want to always have onions ready for cooking without worrying about spoilage, this final tip will be perfect. First, peel the onions, then cut them into small pieces as desired. Depending on your needs, you can finely chop them for stir-fries or sauces, or cut larger pieces for soups. Next, place the onions into a Ziploc bag or a food container and put them straight into the freezer. If using a Ziploc bag, remember to press out all the air. This small step helps reduce spoilage and preserves the flavor better. Place the bag of onions in the freezer. After just a few hours, they will be completely frozen. Frozen onions still retain a strong flavor and are perfect for cooked dishes. When needed, simply take the required amount and add it directly to the pan or pot without thawing. If stored properly, onions can be used for up to about 6 months. This method is very convenient, saves time, and ensures you're always ready to cook. Method 4. Freeze onions. Freezing onions is another great way to extend their shelf life, especially if you want to always have an ingredient readily available for cooking. Start by peeling and chopping the onions to the size you usually use. Small chunks for stir-fries and sauces, larger pieces for soups. If you want to save time later, you can put the onions in a food processor and blend them until smooth. Next, place the onions in a freezer bag or airtight container suitable for the freezer. If using a bag, gently press the onions to form a thin, flat layer. This makes it easier to break off the correct amount you need. Before sealing, remember to squeeze out all the air to prevent freezing and keep the onions fresher for longer. You can also use chopsticks to divide the scallions into smaller portions, which is very convenient for each cooking session. Place the bag flat in the freezer. After a few hours, the onions will be completely frozen. Frozen onions will lose their crispness when thawed, but they retain their flavor very well, making them extremely suitable for cooked dishes. You just need to break off a piece and put it straight into the pan or pot. No thawing required. Stored this way, onions can be used for up to 6 months, retaining their aroma and flavor. This is a convenient, time-saving solution, ensuring you always have onions readily available when needed. I hope these small tips will help you keep onions fresh longer and reduce waste in your kitchen. If you found them helpful, I would really appreciate it if you give the video a like. That's a great source of motivation for me to continue sharing more useful tips. How do you usually store onions? Do you have any effective methods that haven't been mentioned? Feel free to share in the comments. I read them all and always learn something new from you. If you enjoy simple, practical kitchen tips that save time and money, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.